Forge Consulting lawsuit. On September 12, 2022, Forge Consulting announced it would file a lawsuit against Alex Murdaugh and Bank of America because Forge suffered serious harm to its business reputation and credibility because of Murdaugh and Boa. Forge alleges Murdaugh set up a fake bank account using the Forge brand to take millions of dollars from his clients and colleagues, and further blames Boa for not doing basic due diligence to detect the fraud. Santis Cristiani lawsuit. On October 7, 2022, a lawsuit named Murdaugh, Crosby, Barnes, the PMPED firm, Lafitte, and Palmetto State Bank as part of a conspiracy to defraud plaintiff Manuel Santis Cristiani of Chiapas, Mexico, of accident settlement money he was awarded but never received. Criminal tax evasion. On December 16, 2022, Alex Murdaugh was indicted by the state grand jury on 9 charges of evading nearly $487,000 in state income taxes. The indictment reflects that he stole nearly $7 million meant for his law firm's bank accounts and failed to pay taxes on the ill-gotten gains. Murder-for-hire suicide scheme. On November 4, 2021, the Hampton County Grand Jury issued 3 charges against Murdaugh for a murder-for-hire suicide scheme to gain $10 million in insurance money related to the events that occurred on September 4, 2021, in which Alex was allegedly shot in the head while changing a tire on a rural road. Murdaugh's accomplice in the scheme and the alleged gunman, Curtis Edward Smith, who is also his cousin, has 5 charges. Embezzlement and fraud charges. On November 19, 2021, the state grand jury issued 5 indictments against Alex Murdaugh on 27 charges of embezzlement and other crimes, including breach of trust, fraudulent intent, money laundering, computer crimes, and forgery. The victims were Thomas L. Moore, patrol officer, Dion J. Martin, Gloria Satterfield, Murdaugh housekeeper, and Manuel Santis Cristiani. Altogether, the fraud amount was close to $4.8 million, resulting in 88 criminal charges. On December 9, an additional 21 criminal charges were filed connected to an alleged scheme that sought to defraud victims of more than $6 million. On January 21, 2022, the state grand jury issued a further 23 criminal charges, which included 19 breaches of trust with fraudulent intent and 4 counts of computer crimes. The indictments allege that he stole more than $2.6 million from clients Natasha Thomas, Arthur Badger, Dion Martin, and the family of Hakeem Pinkney. On March 16, 2022, the state grand jury issued a superseding indictment against Murdaugh and Corey Howerton Fleming that includes 4 new charges against Murdaugh related to an alleged scheme to defraud multiple insurance companies in the course of surreptitiously delivering to Murdaugh a share of the proceeds. A further round of superseding indictments against Murdaugh were issued in April 2022 involving 4 charges of conspiring with former banker Russell Lucius Lafitte and former attorney Corey Howerton Fleming. On August 19, 2022, the state grand jury issued a new round of indictments against Murdaugh, Spencer Anwin Roberts, and Jerry K. Rivers. Murdaugh was indicted on 9 charges related to the theft of $295,000 from his brother and his old law firm. The indictments indicate he may have stolen $8,789,447.77 from more than a dozen people. The indictments allege crimes back to at least 2011. Murdaugh would secretly negotiate a settlement for his clients, then pay them only enough so they would be content and thankful. He would then steal the rest. His clients were usually minorities who were not well off. They included an injured state trooper, family friends, a deaf man, an immigrant, and minors. Murdaugh allegedly used money orders given to an unnamed family member to help launder the cash. Although some of the amounts to Fleming and Lafitte overlap as to the alleged amounts for Murdaugh, the state grand jury indicted Fleming on 23 charges for schemes to defraud victims of $3,725,203.85. Lafitte had 21 charges against him for schemes to defraud victims of $1,832,772.30. Asset custody. In September 2021, Murdaugh gave broad powers of attorney to his son Buster, including the power to sell and dispose of his assets, which Buster proceeded to do. The Moselle property that was the scene of the murders of Maggie and Paul was rebranded as Cross Swamp Farm and listed for sale with an asking price of $3.9 million, and the Edisto Beach house was placed on the market for $920,000 on November 1. A judge ordered the Murdaugh assets to be frozen. Buster and Alex sought to overturn it, saying they had no money to pay for food, medical insurance, and utilities. Murdaugh's assets were placed into a receivership, created because evidence suggested the Murdaugh family was moving and hiding money from potential creditors, including multiple plaintiffs. The Murdaugh family and attorneys have been trying to unwind the receivership in civil court. Physical custody. On October 14, 2021, concurrent with his release from the drug rehabilitation facility in Orlando, Murdaugh was taken into custody by the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, SLED, on 2 felony counts of obtaining property by false pretenses related to the Satterfield case. Murdaugh had been given a $7 million bail on the fraud charges, which he could not pay and remained in prison. After being charged with the murder of his wife and son, Murdaugh was denied bail entirely. Murdaugh has been held in custody at Alvin Glen Detention Center in Richland County from October 14, 2021, to the present. The detention center is part of the South Carolina Department of Corrections. Charges for narcotics distribution. In June 2022, Alex Murdaugh was indicted on 2 counts by the state grand jury related to conspiring with accomplice Curtis Edward Smith, a distant cousin, to purchase and distribute narcotics using a money laundering scheme involving $2.4 million in stolen money. The indictment alleges that Murdaugh and Smith used hundreds of illegal transactions to facilitate the acquisition and distribution of illegally obtained narcotics in several counties throughout South Carolina over 8 years starting in 2013. Disbarment. On July 12, 2022, the South Carolina Supreme Court issued an official order disbarring Murdaugh from the practice of law in South Carolina. It was based on Murdaugh's admitted reprehensible misconduct. Murdaugh was allowed to contest the disbarment but did not. Convictions. Maggie and Paul murders. On June 7, 2021, Alex called police from his cell phone at 10:06 p.m., saying he had discovered the bodies of 22-year-old son Paul and 52-year-old wife Maggie near the dog kennels at the family's hunting lodge located on a 1,772-acre estate in Islandton, South Carolina. Both had been shot multiple times and with different weapons. Alex initially reported that at the time of the killings, around 9 p.m., it was later determined he had been with his mother, who has dementia. At the time of the murders, Maggie was estranged from Alex and living away from him at their beach home on Edisto Island. Investigations revealed that weeks earlier, Maggie had consulted a divorce lawyer in Charleston to discuss ending her marriage to Alex. Police reports indicate that Alex had called Maggie to meet him at the lodge. He also proposed that the two of them would travel together from there to see his father, Randolph, who was terminally ill. Maggie did not want to go to the lodge and suggested they meet at a public place. Maggie texted a friend, saying Alex sounded fishy and was up to something. Nevertheless, at Alex's insistence, she drove to the lodge. After parking her car at the house, she walked to the dog kennels, where she found her son Paul. This was where Maggie and Paul Murdaugh's bodies were later found. In October 2021, it was revealed that SLED had regarded Alex as a person of interest in the homicides since the start of the investigation. A South Carolina lawmaker described SLED chief Mark Keel as a straight arrow, who wanted to have an airtight case. He knows he's up against the good old boys who will bury him if he gets the tiniest thing wrong. He's not dropping anything until he's absolutely sure. In July 2022, the Colton County Grand Jury issued an indictment charging Alex Murdaugh with 2 counts of murder and 2 counts of possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime in the deaths of his wife, Maggie, and his son, Paul. The indictment says Alex shot his wife with a rifle and his son with a shotgun. Sources close to the investigation said that high-velocity blood spatter on Alex's clothing, as well as cell phone footage, had placed Murdaugh at the scene when his wife and son were shot dead. Prosecutors suggested a motive where Murdaugh sought a distraction from his financial crimes which were beginning to go public and to garner sympathy. Ultimately, the murders served as Murdaugh's means to shift the focus away from himself and buy himself some additional time to try and prevent his financial crimes from being uncovered, which, if revealed, would result in personal, legal, and financial ruin for Murdaugh. Alex pleaded not guilty. On March 2, 2023, Alex Murdaugh was convicted of both murders. The following day, he was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Media portrayals. There have been TV episodes, podcasts, and documentaries about the family and the criminal case against Alex Murdaugh. Some notable examples. Murdaugh Murders Podcast, 2021, Liz Farrell and Mandy Matney. The Murdaugh Dynasty, 2022, Campfire Studios, HBO Max. The Murdaugh Murders, Deadly Dynasty, 2022, Investigation Discovery. Murdaugh Murders, A Southern Scandal, 2023, Netflix. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.